Hey guys, it's Jenna. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am coming at you with my May wrap-up. So I managed to read 4 books this month, which is pretty average for me. I was surprised that I even read 4 books this month, or finished 4 books this month, because my husband and I have been so preoccupied with getting settled into our new house, and I've had a lot on my mind, what with the big summer reading program coming up at work. So I was just very pleased that I managed to finish 4 books this month. So without further ado, let's just get into them. The first book that I read and finished was A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. You probably know all about this, but just in case you don't, this is the 3rd and final book of the A Court of Thorns and Roses YA fantasy trilogy by Sarah J. Maas. And we will get 3 other companion novels in the future, but this is the end of this particular storyline following Feyre and Rhysand. So I did really like this one. I gave it 4 stars. I did not enjoy it as much as the second book, A Court of Mist and Fury. I gave that one 5 stars last year, and it made it on my list of just favorite books of 2016, just because I felt so connected to the characters. I absolutely loved reading about Feyre's transformation, just from like this depressed and just sad woman to this confident and just badass female character who just kicks butt and takes names. So I really enjoyed the second one. The third one, it was still very good. I mean, I gave it 4 stars, but it was so long, you guys. So long. I think it was almost 700 pages, 800, one of those. Either way, super long. There was so much build up until the final climax, conclusion, war, battle thing. There was so much build up. Could have been a lot shorter, much more effective, I would say. There was just like going back and forth and back and forth, and the big war is gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and then when it finally does, it's just like, oh, okay, it's over. Like, it was really good, and it wrapped up very nicely, but it was not my favorite. I just felt like this level of anticipation was just like, oh, up here, because the second one was so good and everybody loves it, that the third one, it's almost like it can't help but be a letdown, because the second one was so good. Like, how do you top that? So I was a little bit disappointed in it. I will still buy it to finish off the trilogy that I have. I am going to wait until it's in paperback because I prefer paperbacks. But anyway, it was pretty good. If you're looking for a fun, entertaining YA / it's really new adult fantasy series that is just good fun and you don't have to think about it too much, I would definitely recommend this. It was fun, it was fast paced, and it was just very entertaining. So that was the first book that I read this month. It took me a while. I think I spent like the first half of the month reading that, just because it was so long. It did not need to be that long. Anyway, the next book that I read was The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This was the 2016 Newbery Award winner, which is the highest honor that you can get in America for children's literature. So I had to see what the fuss was about. Plus, I just like to read the Newberys because I'm a librarian. So I read it. I really, really enjoyed it. It was very lighthearted. It is a middle grade dystopian / fantasy novel. It's basically a dystopian society set within a fantasy world, and it is kind of confusing to explain, but I'm going to do my best. We follow this witch that lives in the woods, and this society called the Protectorate, this kind of dystopian society, they live in fear of the witch, and the council, which runs the Protectorate, tells the people, hey, every year we have to take the youngest child, the youngest baby, and sacrifice it to the witch in the woods, or else we're all gonna die. So we have to, the council makes the people live in fear, basically. And they're ruled by fear, and they have to do whatever the council says, or else the world's gonna fall apart. So, but in reality, the witch that lives in the woods, she's not a bad witch, she's a good witch. And she doesn't know why these people are leaving babies in the forest for her. So every year she just takes the baby and then takes these babies across the forest to another town where they're placed with loving families. So it's kind of like, okay, who's really the good guy, who's really the bad guy type of story. It's about love, and there's magic, and I absolutely adored it. I don't think it was perfect. I feel like the first half of the book felt more magical to me than the last half, or the second half, but I definitely enjoyed it. It was magical. I definitely would buy a copy of my own because I think it's going to be one of those books that I would love to read to my kids one day. The writing is stunning, and I just highly recommend it if you're looking for a good middle grade fantasy novel that is a standalone. And then the next book that I read and finished was Lilac Girls by Martha Hall Kelly, or Martha Kelly Hall. I can never remember which is her first or middle and last name. Anyway, it's right here. I read this along with the Books and Jams read-along group. This was the book of the month for May. And this is a World War II historical fiction novel following 3 different perspectives. Caroline, who is an American who just used to like high society in New York. Then we have Kasia, who is a Polish teenager who obviously is from Poland and who gets sent to the Ravensbrück women's concentration camp. And then we follow Herta, who is a German woman doctor, the only one at the Ravensbrück concentration camp for women. So Caroline and Herta were real people, and Kasia is based on a group of people in real life. So it took me a while to get into this one. I listened to the audiobook for about 90% of it, and I started this audiobook while I was reading A Court of Wings and Ruin. So Akabor is super fast paced. You don't really have to think about it too much. It's fantasy, it's fun. And that's what I was reading physically. And then I was listening to Lilac Girls, and the narrators for Lilac Girls, like the actual narration was very, very slow, like literally slow. We're talking like this. And I was like, okay, let's speed it up. I want to see what happens. But after I got used to it and the 3 different narrators for the 3 different perspectives, I was in it. I definitely recommend this. So I gave it 4 stars. And if you're looking for a good World War II historical fiction novel, I definitely recommend it. I really loved the ending and the metaphor of Lilac Girls, and it was beautiful, and it really got me in the feels several times. Just the atrocities that were committed at Ravensbrück. I had heard of the camp before, I knew it existed, but I did not have any idea some of the experiments that were being done on the camp inmates, and it was really intense, but at the end, very, very beautiful, and I highly recommend it. And then the last book, I technically finished it on June 1st, but nobody has to know that, right? Of course, I just said it. But anyway, that was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I did get this book a couple months ago, I think, because I heard that that Hulu was going to be doing the TV adaptation, and that always motivates me more to read a certain book if there's going to be some sort of adaptation. So I read it, I gave it 3 stars. I do think that it was good, and I recommend it. I think it was a work of art, a masterpiece that was masterfully written, and it was deeply thought-provoking and really hits you hard. But it made me feel sick. Like, I think it's supposed to do that. I get it. But at the end, I just felt icky and just so down, and it was just so dark, and I don't know. I rate books based on my enjoyment level and the feelings that I get from them. So if it doesn't really make me that happy, I'm not gonna give it too high of a rating just because, I don't know. And I just go by gut feeling most of the time with books. So like I said, I definitely recommend it. I think it was a work of art, but it just I didn't feel too good after reading it. So take that, do with that what you will. But it is about a futuristic, dystopian America that uses women who are fertile. There's not very many of them. The birth rate is super low. So the ones that can potentially have babies are made into handmaids, and these handmaids are assigned to families. They have to have sex with the father figure or commander husband figure in the household. They have to have sex with them once a month, to try to have a baby. And if they can't, after 3 tries, I think, they're transferred to another household. And if they do have a baby, they have to give the baby up, give it to the wife. And yeah, it's just, was very depressing. I liked it, but I didn't like it, and that's why I gave it 3 stars. But so 3 stars is still a pretty good rating for me, so do with that what you will. Anyway, so my thoughts were kind of scatterbrained a little bit, but that's just how it is right now for me. But that was my May wrap up. So comment down below and let me know your favorite book that you read in the month of May, or if you've read any of the books I mentioned. I would love to know your thoughts and chat with you down below. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to hear more bookish content. If you'd like to see more bookish content from me. I'm just like all over the place right now. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyway, I will see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye.